All right, welcome everyone to this joint broadcast with Northwest Digital News and SMBNation. I'm Kevin Hunter with Harry Brelsford, and we are at Interface Seattle 2018, and a ton of vendors here.
Yeah.
And then a lot of great content from various seminars that they're doing over in various theaters. They've got a couple of theaters set up here for seminars
on the
too.
Floor. Yeah.
So, Harry, your thoughts on what you're seeing? You've actually been to this event before.
Yeah, I have.
And you're seeing some changes already here in this event versus the previous years.
I have. So last year in Seattle, with all due respect, it felt just a little light.
Yep.
You know, and I don't know why. It was at the Washington State Convention Center. It might have been too big a venue for the audience.
Yeah, could be.
So it looks like the group Face-to-Face Events out of Portland, Oregon that puts on Interface, they right-sized it. They moved it over to the high-tech corridor, the east side of the Seattle area, a city called Bellevue, and it feels comfortable. And so I noticed that right away, that for whatever reason it feels a little bit more active, feels a little bit more comfortable. And then what's interesting to me is what you said. You know, it must be, I'm going to go out on a limb. I mean, it could be 30 to 36 vendors. That's quite a list. It's quite a haul here.
For an event like this, yeah. As you were saying earlier, this is getting vendors to participate in events like this is becoming a bigger and bigger challenge, and they did a really fantastic job here.
Yeah, they did, because you know the vendors are looking to get the biggest bang for their buck, so the conversations now start with digital marketing, and then they go to events, and in a very distant third place would be print advertising. Very distant.
Right, right, very distant.
So, you know, it's harder than it looks, so my compliments to the promoters.
So you're familiar with a number of the vendors that are here, and in fact some of them are folks that work with you. Is there anyone in particular you want to point out?
Yeah. So on my side of the aisle, SMBNation is comprised, for those that aren't aware, we're a community of managed services providers, and that's a long-winded way of saying computer guy or computer gal. They drive around all day and fix things. Of course, they've evolved into solutions and so on.
Exactly.
So a little bit later, we should have the pleasure of talking with Xiotech, an MSP, managed services provider I know. There's a Fusion Tech is here. There's a couple of them, but then you also have HP and Western Digital, and you know you got some big companies here, which would make sense because Interface is a national show. It travels to different cities.
Correct.
And so that makes sense that HP, that has global reach, would of course sign up for the whole tour and be part of it, and they just go from city to city. And then my guys, the managed services provider, they would be local, right? They wake up in the morning thinking about Puget Sound, the Seattle area, to do business. So it's quite impressive, a mix of national and local sponsors. Kevin, I'll tell you though, what's interesting to me is the audience. So the audience that they have here, when you sign up for Interface, it's a free admission, but in exchange for a free admission and a free lunch, you have to provide information to them, right? That's the trade-off. And so you're going to tell them what's your position in your business. Do you have purchasing authority? How big is your business? How are purchasing decisions made for technology? And that's a fair trade, right? That's how the game is played.
Sure.
They need to learn a little bit about you.
Well, for the benefit of our viewers, I mean, somebody can easily blow $500, $600, $700, $1,000 to come to one of these.
Yeah, exactly. And so the audience I would offer is B2B, business to business. I'm not seeing B2C, not seeing consumers there. And these are probably medium-sized companies walking around, the attendees, maybe some small. And then, Kevin, I guess the worst-kept secret of trade shows is job hunters.
Yes.
Yeah, people with their resume tucked in their hip pocket, looking for work.
Hey, there's my ideal employer. Yeah, without a doubt. One of the things that I've noticed is that there, again, this event, like others, big focus on network security and security issues of all sorts. In fact, Fred Langston will be speaking here later today, and I get a kick out of this because we've had a lot of conversation about IoT, which people know is Internet of Things, and part of Fred Langston's talk is on IoT, and he's referring to it as the insecurity of things.
Yep.
And of course the big concerns with security on the web.
Yep.
We have, in fact, right on the other side of us here, and hopefully we've got a chance to visit with them here a little bit later on, but there's a organization that was set up originally by the FBI and has to do with security on the web. So we'll find out who these guys are and share them with our audience.
I want to attend that conversation. I want to see that one myself, man. But you know, you're right. So what's interesting is, if you look at the event schedule, these are vendor speakers, okay? And again, expectations are managed, that's appropriate for a trade show like this. This conference is not holding themselves out to be an academic conference, right? You're not seeing academic lectures.
But there are credits available for the seminars. That
That was cool. And some of the topics are academic in nature, right? I mean, there are some sales pitches, there's no question about it. But you know, God bless them. They're trying to introduce, you know, what I would call just nonpartisan topics, right? Because nobody likes to be locked in the room at a timeshare half day where you can't leave until you sign up for the Hawaiian timeshare.
That's right.
So I think they're doing a good job, and good Lord, it's a lot of sheesh, man. It's a lot of lectures. I mean, we got 4 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. 4 across and 5 down, man.
It's a lot of stuff. You know, one of the things I got a kick out of just a short while ago when the gentleman came by and he was talking about the fact that media having evolved to digital, like Northwest Digital News and SMBNation. He was saying that, you know, how long it's been since he's been on the internet. So this isn't a really internet or technology savvy individual. I noticed he was a senior engineer of some sorts, but not very tech.
Yeah, over in a project engineer, it looks like over in structural engineering.
Yeah, structural engineering. And we won't say the names, you know, to protect the identities there. But I thought it was kind of interesting that he said he still prefers to go home and sit down in the evening and look at his paper so he doesn't have to deal with all the digital advertising and all the different things that get mixed up in digital media. But I think for businesses out there and people in that area, you have to be aware of the fact that I think it was back in 2011, 2012, they had predicted by 2015 that 80% of the world's population in all the developed areas of the world would be getting their news and information from online sources. And they ended up being wrong. It was almost 90%.
Wow.
So that number is very, very high. And I understood where the guy was coming from, and part of it was the bald head and the gray hair and you know whatnot. I went, all right, you still like that newspaper, that's all right. There's still some market, but that market is rapidly shrinking for all of that.
You know, what are you going to do? I mean, I read the paper online now. But so I love the newspapers, but I just don't get it delivered to my house.
You were saying that you were having conversation with your mom and telling her that you're not a solution, you're actually part of the problem when it comes to technology.
Yeah, because my mom, being in her late 80s at a retirement home, in fact, she still gets the daily paper in print, right? That's her thing, is to get the Seattle Times and read it during the day.
And she doesn't want to see it go away.
No.
Like this guy who is here.
So yeah, the joke is in explaining to my mom what I do, because I'm in the world of digital transformation when you get right down to it. So a little bit of a joke there that, Mom, I'm part of the problem, not the solution. The solution in her mind's eye would be print media, print magazines, old school. And don't get me wrong, I have a place in my heart for that, but what are you going to do, lead or follow, right? We're in technology, man.
Hey, if you're not paying attention to where technology is going and the advancements, if you're not paying attention to what's happening out there, there's a really funny kind of story that ties into that, Harry. Back in the, it was late 80s, early 90s, I was traveling in Ohio, and was at one of the largest carburetor manufacturing plants in the United States. I think they actually were number one. And I remember the leadership in the organization sharing with me how good they were at what they do. Their customer service being number one, their product being number one, all these things. And I just floated a question at them and I said, you know, what do you think is going to happen with fuel injection? And they said, that's an idea that's not really ever going to catch on.
Yeah.
What do you think happened to them?
Exactly.
That's an empty facility today.
Kevin, hey, before we go, I just wanted to, I've been a little bit rude doing dynamic research over on the side, but the reason is I was educating myself that face-to-face events with the brand interface, they're in 32 cities. I mean, I knew they traveled, but you know, that's a real business model. We're looking from Alabama and Alaska, my home state of Alaska, all the way down to Willamette Valley, down in the Portland area, down in Oregon. But I mean, this is a real road show, man.
I recognize Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul there.
And it looks like, folks, if you're interested, F2Fevents.com. Standing for face-to-face events, but they do a handsome show. I'm glad they invited us.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Special thanks to Ben Brown for the invite to come up. And Kyle, if you would, put the link for people who are following us online, put the link for the show in there, f2fevents.com/event/SEA. That's the first three letters in Seattle, SEA 18. And Kyle did put it in the link there for the benefit of our viewers.
Well, for those watching live on the stream, there's still time.
There's still time
to get here for lunch from Bellevue.
Hey, here's the other thing. If you aren't able to come in from outside the area and there's a specific vendor that you would like to hear from or hear more about, you can jump on the event site, the f2fevents.com, go to that website, find the event or the vendor that you're most interested in hearing from, and feel free to comment in the stream. We will do our best to get those people on air with us here throughout the day. So appreciate everybody joining us here on the broadcast. You're going to love this overhead PA guy. He's nice and loud, isn't he?
Well, better yet, I love the new mic you have.
Yeah.
I like that even better.
Are we still drowning him out? Yeah. Yeah, see, he's a non-factor.
Got Kyle over in the radio control room doing a great job today.
He's a non-factor, the PA guy. Yeah. Well, to everybody following the stream here today, we will be bringing various guests on to chat with them and talk about this Interface Seattle. And as Harry's already mentioned, it's a spectacular event this year, and we hope to have some exciting guests on here in just a little while. So stay tuned. On behalf of myself, Kevin Hunter from Northwest Digital News, and Harry Brelsford from SMBNation. Till next time, take care.